Okay, we're back after a brief 7 to 8 month hiatus. It's our usual recording pattern. Allison she's concerned about the tone of her voice because of all the vomiting and sore throat. We haven't been able to determine the cause of either.
I think it was just a brief virus.
You didn't do any pooping.
No.
She's never
the
pooped,
normal
actually.
Which is none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's CD business. It's CD business. Okay, so we're going to start with what's in the garden. The answer is it's a wasteland, I think.
The state of the garden is all fucked up.
Yeah, well, it's been very cold, and we had been using a recycled sheet of plastic that was never intended to serve in a garden as a greenhouse for the past several years, this discarded piece of junk, and it was finally annihilated this winter. Is that how?
Yeah, we had a windstorm that basically ripped the plastic off of the hoop house, and then everything that was inside got frozen pretty solidly. So there's not a lot going on in there at the moment.
It seems like there's a lot of parsley.
Yeah, there is, I think.
But man,
a lot of it's pretty wilted and yellow.
Yeah. And man cannot live on parsley alone. Although we could bring it to the Seder we're going to this year, maybe. So there's parsley. Anything else survived?
It's hard to tell. The peas and fava beans that were in there got really frozen, but they might bounce back. Some of them might.
Can that happen?
Well, I've sometimes touched things that were stiff with how frozen they were, and then they kept growing.
Huh.
If you don't mess with it too much, basically touching it would be the mistake there. If it could freeze a little bit and still recover sometimes.
If we froze Lucy, do you think she could make a comeback?
Well, I think she's resistant to freezing.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because, through sheer will?
Well, she would need food. She would need to convert food into body heat.
But if she's outside, there's no pellets for her there. So she would starve to death in the wild.
That's likely true. I don't think she can fend for herself.
Okay, so some frozen shit. So this is January. This is the dead of winter. We're in the post Christmas, but spring is still but a gleam in our eyes, and depression is settled in heavily. I guess that's the end of the podcast. So we're doing this to boost our spirits. What do you have for us?
Okay, well, I thought I would do a combination guessing game and then reading the descriptions.
Like in an alternating format?
Yeah, so I think what I'll do is I will say the name of something, then you'll guess what it is, and then when you've guessed it or you've given up and I've told you, then I'll hand you the description and you can read the description for that plant.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
That sounds good. So this is the variant on the game, What the Fuck Is That?
Yeah.
I'm still going to use the What the Fuck Is That sound effect to introduce this segment, even though it's a hybrid segment. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's the same thing. It's just slightly more detailed.
What the fuck is that?
And this is a themed collection.
Okay.
The first one is called Eden's Gem.
Eden's Gem. Well, logic would tell you that it's like pomegranate or or maybe an apple, or something that God would give to humanity in order to ultimately blame them for their own suffering. I'm going to go with a pomegranate.
Okay. It's not a pomegranate.
Is it an apple?
It's not a tree, actually.
Oh. I don't know how to guess that besides those two guesses,
those are good
I guess.
guesses. A tree of some sort seems like a good guess. This is
It's something that is... Well, don't tell me. So beyond that, we're just looking at something that is sort of representative of a lush garden.
Yeah.
Maybe a rose bush.
That would be good.
But it's not.
But it's not.
All right, what is it?
It's a melon. Wow, you're really disappointed with that.
That's unlikely. It's also like
is.
you would expect something delicate with that name, but a melon's like a big ol' butt. Like it's a hefty.
Well, melons come in all sizes.
Is this a tiny one?
This is, each one weighs about 1 pound, so
That is pretty tiny,
small.
yeah. Is it attractive?
I mean, I think melons are attractive.
What were we growing out of the front the bales of hay that presented as a melon in its
It was a
early
melon.
stage? No, there were melons, but something else also looked like a melon, and then became something else. Do you remember this
So
conversation?
squash and melons all
Are the
look
same thing? Yeah, I think we talked. I guess it was squash. Now that you mention it. All right, yeah. Well, we're all familiar with the story where Adam and Eve
The melon?
consumed, cut into with a knife because they had one, the thick rind of a melon, the rind of wisdom, the rind of knowledge, and then we're punished.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a look. Should we post this on the...
Yeah, you could put it on Twitter. What's our Twitter handle? I've never used
Oh
it.
shit, I forgot. I can't remember. Hold on.
That seems like an omission.
I'll insert it. Wait. Just at CD Business. I'll insert it there. Okay, so I'm going to read. First of all, I'm looking at the picture of this melon. It seems like... So its innards are... The flesh is green. It seems like the void where the seeds are inside of it is larger than the void usually is. Like, look at this image.
Yeah, I agree.
That seems worse than a regular melon.
Well, it's older. And a lot of
Sure, it
older
hasn't been
melons have
bred
more
into-
space
yeah.
inside. More
That's
empty
fair.
space.
Was that part of your pumpkin
It was not.
talk? Okay. So this is the description of Eden's gem melon. Kukumismelo, aka Eden gem, Rocky Ford Eden gem. Early maturing variety developed in 1905. That was when, as all young Earth creationists will know, that is the when humans were made initially. It was a variety developed in 1905 at Rocky Ford, Colorado, as a crate melon. Amy Goldman, author of Melons for the Passionate Grower.
I thought you would like that.
Oh,
book
I
title.
know why you picked this. Hold on, I'm going to reread the whole thing. AKA Eden Gem, Rocky Ford Eden Gem. Early maturing variety developed in 1905 at Rocky Ford, Colorado as a crate melon. Amy Goldman, author of the classic Melons for the Passionate Grower, claims this is one of her all-time favorites and, quote, may cause drooling. Softball-sized, netted fruits weigh in at about 1 pound. Complex, spicy flavor.
It may cause drooling. No word about shaking.
Yeah. I mean, I would really like to eat one of those. They make it sound like it's not like you'll, this is so appetizing that you will drool in anticipation. They make it sound like that is an
you
allergic
eat it.
response that your body will have. You'll be poisoned in a way that causes drooling and potentially shaking. I don't think either of us has shaken and drooled simultaneously, but Lucy definitely does.
Yeah, that's happened.
I mean, it happens whenever she's drooling, because she's also purring at that point. Purring accompanies all of her drooling.
Okay, ready for the next one?
Yes.
Green Goliath.
Okay. So my association that I immediately go to is the Green Giant brand of canned vegetables. And I think the sort of the one that I remember eating most often as a child was green beans out of the can of the Green Giant brand, green beans out of a can. So I'm going to initially guess that it is a green bean.
I think that's a good guess. It happens not to be.
I guess it doesn't make any sense because absent that association, it should be something big.
It should be something big. But I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
That's a complaint that several commenters.
It's too big.
It's not big enough.
Oh, Jesus.
False advertising. Several commenters on the seed description have complained that it's not big enough.
I'm going to guess. The thing is, everyone fetishizes big. We've had this discussion, but the bigger they are, the worse they taste, generally.
Generally.
Oh, is this a thing you would eat?
Yeah.
Zucchini.
That's also a good guess, but it is also incorrect.
I don't know what edible... I mean, the thing is, there are lots of greens that... like leafy greens that maybe you would want to be big. Let's go with romaine lettuce.
Yeah, that's also a good guess. I think like a Brussels sprouts or an asparagus or something makes sense as a guess because those grow to be pretty tall.
Yeah, asparagus would have been a good guess in particular, I think.
But it's none of those things. It's a broccoli.
Okay. I'd be interested to see a picture because what is big about them the stalk, like...
Well, let me give you the description to read, and then I'm going to read a couple of customer feedback.
Okay, sure. You know, what are they flower? What are the fucking pellets on the top
Florets,
of yeah, little flowers. If those were big about it, that would be
cool.
Pretty weird. I'm looking at a picture, and frankly, it looks like every broccoli.
Yeah, it looks really ordinary.
This is on the Reimer Seeds catalog. Okay, green Goliath broccoli. Plant produces giant-size blue-green broccoli. It is very flavorful and produces many side shoots over a period of 3 weeks. This is no ordinary broccoli. It often out-yields all the others, including hybrids. Excellent choice for home gardens. I know we're not doing this right now, but I don't think that's a good description. Plant produces giant-sized blue-green broccoli. It is very flavorful and produces many. Like it, the double produces there. And also, I don't think this is no ordinary broccoli is a particularly great.
Yeah, they don't have a professional copywriter on that.
Are you telling me that ReimerSeeds.com, which has a graphic that looks like it was made in 1994 of a ladybug eating a pepper, you're telling me this isn't a...
Oh yeah, that is a really weird logo.
It's bad. It's a bad logo, I think.
Yeah.
They're saying that our vegetables are susceptible to pests. That's what I get from that.
I guess. Also, ladybugs aren't pests.
So they wouldn't be eating that pepper anyway.
Right.
Okay.
Ladybugs would be eating the aphids that you would like to keep away, generally. I noticed for the same plant, the same Goliath broccoli seeds on youngseed.com, there were a couple of product reviews. There are 2 reviews for this variety of broccoli. The first, by Sally M., reads, "Terrible." "Heads are loose, flower early, and the plant is huge. Disappointed.
Huh.
Bugs get in easily. If you want good broccoli, grow Bellstar. They are great."
That's a buzz marketing. Like, that's a competitor who went in.
I don't think so.
I disagree.
I am sure Bellstar's a variety that's also carried by the same companies.
Maybe, but maybe maybe it's carried by the same company, but maybe the originator of the, like, wherever that varietal comes from.
You think
that they go and shit on reviews of their broccoli competitors.
No, I don't think that's
I mean, that happens on, like, Amazon reviews all the time.
Well, yeah, but
What's the broccoli competitor that they've...
Well, they're recommending Bellstar.
All right, hold on.
As their favorite broccoli. Yeah, so the same company carries Bellstar.
I'm not saying the same company doesn't carry Bellstar. What I'm saying is that whoever supplies them with Bellstar is the one going into reviews.
It could be. I'll tell you what, after I read the 2 reviews on Goliath, I'll read the reviews on Bellstar.
All right. Because if the ones in Bellstar are like, fuck Bellstar, they're too tight.
All right, the second review is by Ian M.
Uh-huh.
And it says, "The only thing Goliath is the plant, which is huge, but the broccoli itself is modest.
Okay.
The secondary shoots were small and bolted immediately. The broccoli did at least taste very good."
Yeah, well, no thoughts on its tightness or looseness in that one. That's a pretty weird criticism.
I do really love that first review.
Terrible.
Terrible. Heads are loose. Bugs get in easily. Okay, well, this is suspicious because the first review for Bellstar is also by Sally M. And Sally M has this to say. "Wow, we were about to give up trying to grow broccoli, and we thought, one more try. Well, we were not disappointed. Huge heads," is all caps, 10 inches across, and when those were picked, more heads came like weeds, huge side shoots up to 8 inches, and they kept coming. Tight, and then just the letter N and the letter I.
Sure. Tight knee.
And that's the end.
Well, that is suspicious. Does Sally M have like a profile on this site? Can you click through?
I don't think I can look at her other reviews.
I think we should try to investigate her.
All right. Well, I'll put you on that
All right.
research task.
Are these reviews both on that site?
Yes.
Maybe I'll contact Reimer Seeds.
This is on Jung Seeds.
Oh, Jung Seeds.
Yeah.
See if they'll give up the IP address of Sally M.
Well, you could probably just search their site for all of her other reviews if she has any.
That's true. If it's just those 2 broccolis, then I think it's clear what's happening.
I think it's still unclear what's happening, but I think it's more likely that someone tried to grow 2
one
kinds
broccoli
of broccoli
and didn't like another
yes,
broccoli.
Than that there's a vast
I think it's a
broccoli conspiracy.
Here's a conspiracy that I heard today because I guess our podcast will be about that now.
No.
That I heard today that I'd never heard before, and it was on WrestleSplania. They had a wrestler on who indicated that he heard that parrots, the bird, were made by the government to spy on people and report back what they hear. And when the interview...
All parrots?
Yes.
All parrots were, like, bioengineered?
Bioengineered by the government. And when questioned why you would think this, he said, well, no one's ever seen a baby parrot.
Is he sure about that?
I mean, that's, I guess, in all of my conspiracy board browsing, I've never really encountered that one before.
Yeah, that seems new.
Imagine if every creature on God's green earth you didn't see in all of its developmental stages you had suspicions about. Anyway, I think that Bell Star needs to answer for this.
All right.
I mean, really, I should contact Bell Star.
I don't know what you mean by contact them, but okay.
All right. Also, why is tight broccoli better than loose broccoli?
Because the bugs don't get in. She made it very clear.
But in terms of taste.
If it's full of bugs.
Well, no. All right.
I mean, I actually do think tight broccoli is good because it holds sauce like a sponge.
Well, that's my feeling about looser broccoli, is that there are more pockets for
you
sauce
don't know what's
to
out
be
there. You don't know how loose broccoli can get.
I guess I don't.
Okay, you ready for another one? This one you might get easily. Jacob's cattle.
It's already got the meat thing going there. Jacob's cattle. My associations would be like a Jacob's ladder.
I don't know why it's not called Jacob's sheep. That's a big hint. I'm not sure why cattle, but I'm actually not super up on the Bible at the moment, so maybe I'm forgetting about some cattle of Jacob's.
I don't know. I guess I don't know what you're referring to. I was thinking it would have something with a long stalk on it or something like that. Jacob's cattle. I don't know.
How did Jacob build his wealth? Trickery and genetics.
Tell the story.
Well, I'm not like a Bible person, so I'm probably forgetting some details, but there's a paper that uses it as an example of kind of a way to reach out to, in a similar way to when you do the genetics of Harry Potter or something, how to reach out to people about biology. And I believe that Jacob made a deal with his future father-in-law. I'll take care of all the sheep, and I'll keep the ones that are black or spotted, and you keep the white ones. And then in the Bible story, it says just something like he put like branches in front of them, and then they were almost all spotted. And there's an argument about whether this refers to an ancient theory that whatever you're looking at whatever your mother was looking at when you were conceived has something to do with what you'll look like. But there's another argument that maybe that the intention is that he used branches to create corrals and was doing, intentional selective breeding. And that anyway, to make that wager, he must have known that having a spotted coat was dominant to having a white colored coat, and that must have been an observation he made at some point. That's sort of the interpretation of that story in this paper, if I'm recalling it correctly.
That is not a A-list Bible story that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so my understanding is that it was basically being used to argue, well, maybe people a long time ago really did have an appreciation for the actual basis of heredity. I
mean, we've talked about how the claim that no one understood any sort of obviously observable scientific phenomena
it can't be right.
It can't be right, yeah.
But I think this interpretation, I don't know how to validate it or who knows, but I certainly don't. Sure.
All right, let me read this passage. After Rachel gave birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me on my way so I can go back to my own homeland. Give me my wives and children for whom I have served you, and I will be on my way. You know how much work I have done for you." But Laban said to him, "If I have found favor in your eyes, please stay. I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you." He added, "Name your wages and I will pay them." Jacob said to him, "You know how I have worked for you and how the livestock have fared under my care. The little you had before I came has increased greatly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I have been. But now, when may I do something for my own household?" "What shall I give you?" he said. "Don't give me anything," Jacob replied. "But if you will do this one thing for me, I will go on tending your flocks and watching over them. Let me go through all your flocks today and remove from them every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, and every spotted or speckled goat. They will be my wages. And my honesty will testify for me in the future whenever you check on the wages you have paid me. Any goat in my possession that is not speckled or spotted, or any lamb that is not dark-colored, will be considered stolen." "Agreed," said Laban. "Let it be as you have said." That same day he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled or spotted female goats, all that had white on them, and all of the dark-colored lambs, and he placed them in the care of his sons. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend the rest of Laban's flocks. Okay, here we go. Jacob, however, took fresh-cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees, and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in all the watering troughs so that they would be directly in front of the flocks when they came to drink. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they mated in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves, but made the rest face the streaked and dark-colored animals that belonged to Laban. Thus he made separate flocks for himself, and did not put them with Laban's animals. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the troughs in front of the animals so they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weak, he would not place them there. So the weak animals went to Laban and the strong ones to Jacob. In this way the men grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks, male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. That's the premise of this is bizarre because
very confusing.
Because he offers to give him anything. And then he's like, "Here's what I want, to run this scam on you."
So my memory of the story, as filtered through a paper I read at some point in the past, is flawed.
Yeah,
also.
I mean, it's not that exact story, but what you're saying about it was completely right. So, and there were goats and lambs in this scenario. And anyway, so what he used were fresh-cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees.
I mean, the translation you read made it very clear that he was going on the theory that what you're looking at.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, I guess that, based on this, my guess is poplar or almond trees.
Good guess. This is also an edible plant. And so it's called Jacob's cattle. So what might it look like?
Like a cow?
I guess. Well, it might be striped or spotted.
Well, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, I see.
But yeah, let's say it looks like a cow. What looks like a cow most? I don't know. Of food. Food plants.
Of food plants? Is it hairy?
Not really, no.
Is it generally spotted or striped, or just in this variant?
It's optional.
When you say what looks like a cow, are you asking me what plants are spotted that are edible? Does it have udders?
No. It's quite a reversal of our guessing game.
I don't know.
Okay. It is a bean.
Okay. Sure. So what I'm looking at in this picture are spotted beans.
Yeah, they're red and white
Yeah.
speckled.
Sure. It has some interesting alternative names. I now have the description in front of me. So this is the Jacob's Cattle dry bean, also known as trout bean, coach dog bean, Dalmatian bean, which makes a lot of sense, and Anasazi bean. Old but unknown origin. Favored by Maine cooks in baked bean recipes because the beans soak up flavor superbly while retaining their own identity. Pure white beans with deep maroon splashes are born on 24-inch high plants. Uses a shell bean or dry bean. I mean, they're quite attractive, I think.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah. Can we get them from that fancy bean company?
I don't know. I mean, they have beans similar.
Let's buzz market this company.
Oh, yeah, they're so great.
So, of course, we're speaking of Rancho Gordo, sponsor of the pod.
I don't think you can say that. If by sponsor you mean we bought their beans and ate them.
And now we have a podcast. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, in our cabinet we have their cranberry beans, which, I mean, really look for all the world pretty similar to these Jacob's Cattle beans. They have maroon speckles. I would say there's less speckling maybe on these than
they're more mottled and instead of blotched or
yeah. Also beautiful and delicious. I wouldn't object to being sent more of them without paying a fee.
Wait, are you trying to get free beans?
I'm trying to get some free beans.
Last one for this segment. Job's tears.
So these are like the in the description for the beans we just read, the Jacob's Cattle beans, they made it clear that it had ancient unknown origins. So I assume that all the ones that get biblical names have ancient unknown origins. Jacob's tears.
Job's tears.
Job's tears. Yeah. So maybe either something naturally salty or something that is teardrop in shape, potentially. Or something that... I have a bunch of ideas about this. Or something that grows well in extremely inhospitable environments. Environments of great misery for plants generally. Or maybe it's actually does not grow well in general. It could really go either way, I think, in that interpretation. So let's go with... I'm going to say it's peas.
That's a good guess.
Like a pod of peas.
Yeah, that's a good guess. They're not peas, but they are sort of, globes, I guess.
Huh. I guess it could also be something sort of native to that region of the world. Is it an olive?
It's not. This is going to be a hard one because it's not the kind of thing we usually grow in our garden.
I don't know. What is it?
It's a grain. It's a big grass.
Huh. Whoa, wow, those are beautiful. I mean, I think they are teardrop shaped. Like, I think that's
that's right.
That's the extremely beautiful. They're like little... I mean, the first one you read was gem, but these look like... I had when I was a kid, a rock tumbler. I don't know if you ever had a rock tumbler as a kid, but I was like...
I did not.
Really into them, and I would like gather up rocks from outside that I found and tumble them, right? And this looks like the best case scenario, these pods of what would come out of the rock tumbler. God, they're pretty. Job's tears. The first sentence of the description is a question. Is it an herb, grain, vegetable, or ornamental bead? I don't know, it seems like they should be the one telling us that. This easy-to-grow plant is all these things and more. With graceful and flowing miniature corn-type bladed leaves, sturdy stalks, delicate inconspicuous drooping flowers, and ornamental pea-like seeds, Job's Tears adds a stunning green filler to cut flower displays. A grain-bearing plant useful for food, to make necklaces, rosary beads, and even traditionally in folk medicine for arthritis and to remove heat. Once the husk has been removed for cooking, the grains look more like oversized pearl barley. Great in brothy dishes and traditional Asian drinks. Job's Tears provides a chewy, mildly sweet, and earthy flavor that has caught the eye of discerning cooks. It has lovingly been called by cookbook authors, quote, the next cult gluten-free grain, and an, quote, unusual, versatile, and beneficial little weirdo. That's a fantastic description. Like, throughout, that's a fantastic description. Wow, people make rosary beads out of them. We all know, of course, Job's use of rosary beads. Great in brothy dishes, so Lucy could enjoy it also.
Well, she's a grain-free cat.
She loves pellet grains, like donut crumbs.
I mean, she'll taste anything that is crumb-like.
Did you click to zoom in on the pods?
I think they did.
Like this picture. They're really beautiful, I think.
Yeah, I agree they're beautiful.
Maybe we should make a rosary.
Well, you can do that whenever you want. Sure.
Do you want to say the rosary on this podcast?
I don't know how. And I won't learn.
Do you want to learn the Hail Mary right now?
I don't.
You probably know it, right? What can you say of the Hail Mary
I don't
prayer?
like this game.
Just what I want to know what you think goes into that.
No, here's what I know. Hail Mary, full of grace. No. Batman. I don't know how long it is.
Hail Mary, full of grace. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. That's the meter there.
And then Batman at the end.
Could you potentially elaborate on the selection aspects of the spotted and striped lambs and shit?
Yeah, so I clearly didn't recall that story accurately, but I think what's really interesting about it is that it suggests both a deep understanding of the coat color genetics and a lack of understanding about heredity, because the story makes it very clear that peeling those poles to make stripes and putting them in the water was somehow causal in producing the spotted and striped offspring. But then also he seems to know that if he puts all the spotted and striped offspring to the side, away from all of the pure white sheep, that they won't become white again if he doesn't put those striped poles in the water. And it turns out that white coat color is dominant. So basically, if he took all of the dark colored and spotted lambs and goats and put them in one area, those goats and sheep would keep breeding more dark colored or spotted goats and sheep. But the white ones on the other side,
You could continue skimming.
they would keep making, dark colored and spotted offspring because those traits are recessive. And the other thing that I just learned is that apparently the spotting or dark colors on the newborn lambs can sometimes fade as they become adults. So he might have been, the idea that you're picking the lambs, the dark-colored lambs specifically, is an interesting one, because maybe there's a chance they would have grown out of it. But then he did say that thing about, if you ever see that I have one that isn't white, then you'll know I stole it from you.
Sure. Yeah, that doesn't really line up well with that. But I think it's clear that he was running a grift of sort.
It's clearly a scam. And what's interesting, too, is it suggests whoever wrote that story understood something about sheep coat color genetics. And the implication also is that Jacob knew that fact and his father-in-law did not. But he was a pastoral agrarian. I mean, he raised sheep. That was his livelihood. Why wouldn't he have known that fact too? The writer of the story knows it. The writer of the story expects the audience of the story to know, but not
accept
one
that
character
his
in
father-in-law
the
was
story.
adult.
Yeah. Maybe he was just dumb.
Yeah.
It's like everybody knows.
I mean, it's a sophisticated scam because it allows him to give the impression of being equitable and generous to his father-in-law and gain good graces.
While getting the better end of the deal.
Yeah.
But it also, to say you'll know forever, I mean, I guess it depends on, are they planning on living next to one another forever and ever?
Sure.
If you don't know something about the heredity, you might fear that some of the black adult sheep would produce white offspring.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the real moment of that says that he knew, like he understood the heredity.
Yeah,
Because
it's so weird that it has both. Like, there's incontrovertible the if you'll know forever and ever.
Yeah.
But then also the stick thing.
Well, maybe he intended to keep making them fuck in front of the sticks.
I guess.
That's now a weird sex thing he makes all of his animals do.
All sheep have to do it. Yeah, I guess you could say, well, now there are no white sheep around them for them to look at.
Right.
So they won't produce any white offspring. I guess it works if you... Yeah, I guess it works if you say, I've taken them away from all the white sheep, so now there won't be any.
Right.
But they could look at a cloud.
Yeah, I mean...
How do you keep them from looking at clouds?
Blinders, I guess. Well, that's far afield, but riveting.
I mean, I did select a couple of plants that I thought had funny names.
Yeah, let's do that.
Boltardi and Aspabrock.
Aspabrock sounds, I mean, it's clearly broccoli, but it sounds like you know how all the new apple varietals that people make that are engineered. It sounds like a Web 2.0 broccoli.
Well, it says, capture the savory taste of broccoli and asparagus in one plant. Entire plant is edible, with extremely tender, long, slender stems with asparagus-like texture, and florets that have a sweet, milder flavor with a slight peppery undertone. Performs well with little space in a spring or fall planting. Harvest the small 3 to 4 inch main stalk head first. Smaller florets will continue for over a month. A hybrid of broccoli and kailan, Chinese broccoli, developed in the early 1990s, it has gained popularity over the last 20 years.
Well, you would agree that's mad science. But why stop there? Why can't it be broccoli, asparagus, and a tomato? Why can't it be broccoli, asparagus, a tomato, and beef?
Well, you know that brassicas are all the same thing.
Sure.
Chinese broccoli and broccoli are easy to cross.
What's the furthest you can go with crossing?
With brassicas?
With, I don't know, what can I make corn have sex with?
Other corn?
But that's it? Nothing weirder than
I don't know for sure.
This is an interesting question to explore, though.
Yeah.
What can you make What can you make kidney bean have sex with?
Yeah, I don't know about reproductive isolation in beans, but, you know, we've all those different patterns and stuff on the beans are definitely...
How far, in terms of crossing, could it go before you would be upset by it?
There's no limit. I would never be upset by it.
You would agree that if someone was able to cross, like, corn and a pepper, let's say, that the same people who are upset about lab-grown, or stem cell use in people, like, they would be upset by that, too. They would consider it to be an affront to God.
I'm not sure that's right. I actually think...
Akin to a Frankenstein.
I think the people who are afraid of GMOs would be more concerned. Hard to say. I don't think anyone's going to be... Nobody cares what plants do, I think is the truth.
I don't know. That it seems like a freak show, though.
I just don't think members of the public are that concerned about what plants are being crossed.
What if you crossed a daffodil and a Brussels sprout?
This isn't going anywhere.
You don't think that would be upsetting to people?
No, I don't think...
What if you crossed common yard grass with a beet?
To produce, what do you think?
Something weird.
Like a lawn of tiny beets?
Yeah.
Well, that sounds great.
But people would be upset by a yard of tiny beets.
Well, people seem to be upset by anything that's not a yard of water-wasting grass.
What if you crossed a pear tree with celery?
Well, that sounds delicious.
I'm looking for but I think that people would experience a sort of body horror at a point, and I'm trying to figure out what that is.
I guess I'm having trouble humoring this because I really don't know what you mean by crossing a pear with celery, right?
Having sex. They have sex.
Do you get a tree? Are you
Well, I don't
imagining
know.
a tree with
That's part of the
celery-flavored
horror.
pear?
Yeah, maybe celery grows off of a tree. Maybe
Well, I think people would be if celery and pears could be crossed, which they can't. I think people would be less.
they can't now. That's why it's mad science.
They'd be less upset by that than by the introduction of that salmon gene into tomatoes or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Right? I mean, why would you care about?
I'm saying that it wouldn't be like a moral opposition. It'd be a visceral disgust reaction.
I think that's just you. You're the only one. You're gonna have to take a poll.
I guess we could put up a Twitter poll.
All 4 of our Twitter followers.
There are 5 that aren't me. I make 6. One of them is...
I didn't realize you were giving out your identity like that.
Well, they don't know which one I am of these 6 followers. One of them is my high school girlfriend that I haven't talked to in decades.
Well, you've narrowed it down significantly.
Look, I could be any of the following. Garrick Reeder, Izzy, Matt, Kenneth Robinson, or just some guy. Could be any of those. Do you want to read?
Well, mostly I was just into the name, Aspa-Brock. And then the other one is called Boltardi.
That sounds like the name of a Victorian-era magician to me. Like the Great Boltardi.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the implication is that these beats are slow to bolt.
Okay.
They're tardy bolters.
Yeah. Well, that seems bad, right?
No, typically you don't want things to bolt. Bolt meaning go to seed, basically. When the weather gets warm, a lot of plants will sort of rapidly shoot up their flower stalk and then produce seeds, and their growing season will be over. Boltardi. Originated in Holland, now one of the most popular beets in England. Ideal for early sowing because, as the name implies, it does not bolt. Color is very strong, thought of as a high pigment beet. Size approaches that of a tennis ball, and the sweet beet flavor is superb.
It's a big-ass beet.
Yeah, tennis ball's a pretty big beet.
Yeah. Beets are the most like meat of any edible plant. Do you agree?
Well, I don't know. I mean, beans, I guess.
It depends on if you're going just by the texture of it in your mouth or the whole presentation of it, I guess.
I mean, just being red is not enough.
But it's red, bloody. It looks like the texture of a rich meat. And I think its mouthfeel is not entirely unlike meat. As far as plants go.
I'm not going to fight you on it. I don't think any plant is particularly meat-like.
Well, you'd get a lot of arguments, apparently, from these catalogs.
Should we wrap this up in some organized way?
Yeah. Well, it's, again, the end of January. Everything's dead. We'll be back in 7 to 8 months. No, we'll do it more often because it's the only way we can grasp at happiness.
Yeah, I mean, in the depths of winter is when you really start wanting to read those seed catalogs and dream of spring. So we'll do that together.
It's seedy business. It's seedy business. Boring talk about seeds, seedy talk between boys. Mind-numbing chatter about ovules and spores. We'll dig a ditch and we'll moan and split the difference. It's seedy business. It's seedy business.